base load, which is always on power, and the renewables can then provide most of the rest of it. I mean, I don't think we need more than 20% nuclear, but it's a major problem in terms of our emissions that we're shutting down the nuclear capacity that we've currently got, because the stations are coming to the end of their lifetime. So whether we renew them or not is obviously a huge issue.
Well, of course, the French made a strategic decision to go down the nuclear path a long time ago, didn't they?
They did, and that means that, and as a result, their carbon emissions are much lower than ours on a per capita basis, and they can run their railway network on electricity and say this is pretty much zero carbon. But I mean, you need to look at this from an economic point of view, and nuclear has historically been extremely expensive, particularly when you factor in decommissioning costs.
Yes.
The reason the state bore that load to start off with was because we were interested in generating plutonium and enriched uranium for nuclear weapons. Now that, even though we're going to have a new generation of Trident nuclear missiles apparently in this country, which is a phenomenal waste of money and a crime against humanity, we still don't need the nuclear power stations to generate it. So the civil and military are now completely separate. But I think that shadow of military, sort of the Cold War, still hangs over civil nuclear power.
And you don't see the expansion of nuclear power generation as contributing to nuclear weapons proliferation?
Potentially it will. If you've got in, I mean, this is the problem with Iran, of course, and it's the problem with North Korea and other countries which are interested in developing nuclear weapons. The only way they can feasibly do that is through civil nuclear power and then enriching uranium enough to do that. But through the Non-Proliferation Treaty and the civil nuclear, international nuclear regulations, every country has a right to civil nuclear power if they renounce the use of nuclear weapons. And so you can have one without the other if you police these treaties properly. And of course this is what the big debates are about with North Korea and Iran in particular, is how you do that. Because countries like India, which haven't signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty, have civil nuclear power. Same with Israel. Israel's built up a massive nuclear arsenal without any sanctions being applied by the international community whatsoever. So I think you need an even-handed approach to this too.
Now, one issue that intimately affects most people in our society is transport, and we're all addicted to our cars. Can you talk us a bit through that, and in that context, just talk a bit about the biofuel issue and its pros and cons, and if we're not to have the drastic lifestyle change of not having any kind of private transport at all, how are we going to handle this one?
Yes, I think we don't need to see this as an either-or situation. I mean, we're in a relatively rural area here, and people are going to find living without cars pretty difficult, if not impossible. If you're bang next to a railway station and tons of bus routes, like most people are in cities, then you really don't need a car. I can't see a case for most people in London owning a car at all, or most people in Oxford, where I'm from, and I don't own a car.